Hello, hello. I am excited to go through this presentation, webinar, podcast, wherever you are listening on how to naturally detox and elevate your energy. So I gave this chat last night and was having some Zoom issues. There was actually a storm going on. And I think that was maybe impacting my internet a little bit because I got kicked out of my Zoom like 4 times. But you know what? That's okay. We rolled with it. The people who attended were very patient with me. So very, very grateful for that. But we are going to cruise through this. So to start, I want to share quickly about the drinkies I have this morning. This is actually the first thing I'm doing today. Just got a little sunshine in and we're chilling in the lounge chair. But I have a matcha. I've been doing matcha instead of coffee pretty often just to see how I feel and not necessarily drink no caffeine, but drinking a little bit less caffeine. So anyways, I have matcha mixed with some vanilla collagen and soy milk and some water. Such a good combo, especially with the vanilla. I really love the vanilla collagen from Amy Meyer's brand. I think my matcha is from Primal Kitchen. And then I have a little greens juice too. I haven't been drinking greens juice for ever, but now that I feel like I'm pretty consistent with actually eating vegetables, I'm like, okay, I can add in an extra little greens powder. I just don't usually tell my clients to substitute that, but this one actually really, really great for detox. Things we're going to be talking about has some kale, moringa, and wheatgrass. So really giving some good variety of vitamins and minerals, as well as some support with helping to bind up toxins. So I like to mix those with some fruit juice from Trader Joe's to sweeten them a little bit. All right, let's get into things. So if you don't know me, I'm Kelli. I'm a functional dietitian, personal trainer, and super passionate about helping women to support their bodies at a deep level and understand, right? So I think a lot of what we're going through today is actually what you would love to hear when you ask your doctor about why do I have these hormonal symptoms? So this is a lot of what I teach in my coaching calls. So I'm really, really excited to chat and bring in some of the mind-body connection, some of the feminine energetics. I think that some of the information is a little bit heavy, a little bit more logic, science-based, but a lot of it is also really understanding how to connect to ourself and bring in that intuitive guidance. So if you aren't familiar with functional medicine, let's start there. So functional medicine to me is really just about asking more questions rather than just looking for a diagnosis, which is much more of the conventional route. We want to find a diagnosis, find a specialist who can find that diagnosis and treat that with a medication, right? We want to understand more about all of the underlying factors that contributed to said diagnosis or symptom, right? So functional medicine could also possibly be considered like integrative medicine or alternative medicine, holistic health. There's lots of different terms that I would consider to be accurate in certain cases. So um, another thing I think of is that we're really more personalized, right? Each person who may have anxiety could have 5 different root causes, right? And I think that for me, there's this process that I can go about to start to understand more about the different areas of root causes to help somebody better understand their symptoms, right? So I'm really looking at the entire person and not so much just a specialty, right? I do work with a lot of people wanting to lose weight, but I'm still looking at gut health, just as I would with somebody who has acne. Um, so detox, right? Detox is a very important part of functional medicine. And what it really means to me is, first of all, removing toxicity from our life, right? I see this a lot as a dietitian, right? Removing sugar or removing sedentary time, right? Those are things that we know just add this extra toxicity and impact our body in a negative way. The next aspect is supporting the organs of detoxification. So like our liver, our gut, our kidneys. And the last one I would say is creating space and energy for healing. So we are actually going to start more so with that last one. of creating the energy in the space. So if you have worked with me, you've probably heard me refer to these three areas of how do we create a change in our life. The first one is using this mindset of harm reduction. Okay. So if there is something that you are learning, you're reading, or I tell you this is bad, right? Which a lot of times I don't always say it in that way, right? I want to really understand what are you open to changing. But if, for example, you hear alcohol is bad, and you are not in a space where you want to give up alcohol for whatever reason, there's so many different reasons. You want to keep it as a part of your life. You can do what is called harm reduction to support your body's ability to handle the alcohol, right? Things like eating meals before you go have some drinks. Don't go drink on an empty stomach. Take your NAC, which we're going to talk about. Take your binders. Take a multivitamin, things that help your body to process the alcohol, right? I still want you to be aware and contemplate, why are you drinking the alcohol? Are you numbing your emotions? Are you overdoing it, right? Are you missing out on your workouts? So, this is a whole spectrum, right? And this could be used for so many things, such as also microplastics, right? And pesticides, these things that we're all exposed to. How do we reduce their harm? The next one is the 80-20 approach. Do we want to follow a meal plan for 80% of the time, 20% of the time? We give ourselves a little bit more flexibility. That can be another really wonderful stepping stone as you are making these changes to not put so much pressure on yourself. And then the last one is a more strict approach, right? You are going to cut something out for 100% of the time and let your body detox from that thing. So I think about gluten being a pretty common time when I may encourage a more strict approach, right? I think that there's a lot of people that have some sensitivity or some inflammation from gluten. Some people even think that everyone is getting some leaky gut from consuming gluten. I don't necessarily think that that is true. I think that the quality and the amount and the state of your gut health are going to make a difference, but there is definitely some truth to the fact that many people have some degree of gut dysbiosis. So anyways, I think giving your body a break from certain things, maybe that is for 3 months, and you don't put yourself into such a strict bucket. I think that for me, that's something that has really helped shift my mindset, is that I can try things and I don't have to be so pigeonholed into this one decision for the rest of my life. I can always change my mind and go back to the flexibility. But I also think that if we don't give ourselves that time, we don't understand and see how we feel without something. So it starts to get a lot easier, in my opinion, when you really do take a strict approach for a little while on something and you can see how good you responded, right? So choose what serves you, reevaluate regularly. And if you're struggling, find support. So, what are some of the things beyond the few examples I mentioned that we would want to change to support our detox load, to support our body's ability to detox? Some of the biggest things that I see in my clients, first one being just this dysregulation of our circadian rhythm. So, we don't have enough sun, we don't have enough light exposure in the morning, we don't have enough sleep, right? Or we have too much blue light and stress in the evening. Really getting back to the way that humans used to be, where we would rise with the sun and go to sleep early. So that can make a huge, huge difference to support our body's time in a rested parasympathetic detox state. Another one is generational trauma, lack of connection to our nervous system, right? Whether that is generations truly that were traumatized for cultural reasons or whatever it is, or even just knowing that your parents maybe didn't eat in a healthy way. They didn't live a healthy lifestyle, and now you're dealing with some of those limiting beliefs that they maybe had or lack of knowledge that they had. Or they, push you to work more, to do these things that are disconnecting you from your healing of your nervous system. Um, Similarly, people pleasing, taking care of everyone but themselves. I see this in a lot of my clients, and that's a really hard one to change because sometimes we truly can't. We do have these people that really rely on us, but how can we, again, practice harm reduction? If you do have a lot going on and you can't do a full workout routine, how can you move more throughout your day? How can you adjust your nutrition? How can you maybe use supplements that help to support your blood sugar? The next one that I had already mentioned, gut dysbiosis. I really think this comes from inflammatory foods, antibiotics, stress, some of the main contributors. The next one is genetically driven micronutrient deficiencies. So there are for sure different micronutrient needs among people. This is why testing can be so helpful to see. Even if you're eating the cleanest diet, you're doing your grains, powders, you may still have vitamin and mineral deficiencies. There are both genetic and environmental reasons why we have these. Specifically, the MTHFR gene, that is one that I am looking at in my foundation's lab panel because about 40% of people have some mutations to this gene that can influence how they are methylating nutrients. And just having that information can help you to be more proactive in what foods and supplements you're going to want to prioritize. And the last one, this is the one that's a little bit more nuanced, is that our liver can be overburdened from things like hormonal birth control. Adding in those synthetic hormones has a different impact on our body. Our liver has to process and detox these. Also, things like other medications too, which are sometimes necessary and life-changing for sure. Alcohol, pesticides, also things that can just add more stress on our detox systems. So there are so many different theories of why we have symptoms appear, right? I am always thinking deeply about these things, about why does one person have excess body weight or have PCOS and the other person who eats maybe the same doesn't. So just sharing a few of these, we're not going to dive deep into them, but to help you understand that it is not your fault, that there are so many contributing factors to why your body might feel a certain way. So I have seen this first one, highly sensitive people. I really do believe in this one. I have a great book on this topic. That some people are just more sensitive to things like intense exercise, chronic stress, loud noises, medications, right? Why did I respond, get 2 years of cystic acne after using birth control for 3 months, and somebody else can use it for 10 years, come off of it, and be just fine? Right? Why are some people just so much more sensitive to certain things? Another one is that there are different stress types, just like there are different body types, like the ectomorph, mesomorph, endomorph. Some people are just naturally tall and lean, and others are shorter and stockier, more athletic build, right? So again, some people might just deal with chronic stress better than others. I already mentioned generational trauma, but the idea that emotions and thoughts create inflammation in our body is something that totally blew my mind when I learned this. I mean, that is really, I think, where meditation and subconscious healing work and therapy can be so transformative for people. Another one is this thrifty gene theory that people who could once adapt to being super fast in a fasted state, right? When we had more scarcity of food, that now those same genes are causing obesity because they're causing us to hold on to more food. And the last one, very oversimplified, but it makes sense to me, is just this idea of having a stress bucket. So when we add too many things into that bucket, it overflows and we get some of those symptoms that are not, they don't know what's causing them. Things like infertility, right? There is not one cause to that. We are just seeing IBS too. Like we don't know what are causing these things. So understanding your stress bucket and how to lessen it, super important. So, like I said, you're not broken. It is not your fault that you are having symptoms, that you're not feeling your best. We live in a crazy time with so much added into that stress bucket. So, it's not your fault, but it is on you to take ownership, right? To continue to evolve, to peel back new layers about yourself, about health and wellness, right? So, rather than feeling super overwhelmed by the amount of information I'm showing tonight, grabbing one or two things that you can really implement into your life that you can truly make a change around. So ownership for me has really been so up and down, right? I am not perfect. I'm never claiming to be, but I am speaking from experience that for me, finding guidance from a functionally minded practitioner, an Eastern medicine practitioner has been so helpful, right? And I know most people they want support, but I think that we don't always know that there are these options out there. There is telehealth. I work for a wonderful company called Nourish that provides insurance coverage for dietitians. So whether you want more support with nutrition or lab work, finding those people that can give you a new perspective on your body. Really focusing first on the lifestyle things that I'm gonna talk about. Nutrition for physical detox and habits for the spiritual detox. And then the repairing of cellular health with vitamins and minerals. That is kind of a side topic that we're gonna get to last. So your healing will not be linear, but keep moving forward. Okay, so let's get into spiritual detox. What is spiritual detox? To me, this is getting rid of the beliefs, the inner narratives that are stopping you from making these changes, right? Letting go of the toxic emotional patterns in your life, understanding yourself on a more mental, emotional, spiritual level. So, some of my favorite practices for spiritual detox that I encourage my clients to have in their life on a daily basis: breath work, journaling, meditation, and grounding. These can be done in literally so many ways. There could be 100 different ways you do each of these things. So, finding what's going to work for you. I am not going to go through all of them. I am going to share quickly what is working for me recently, and I'm sure this will change many more times in my life. But for me, recently, um, one of the main practices I have started is using an app called the Higher Self app. I have been following Marley Rose Harris for a long time. I love her content, her teachings, and she made an app, I don't know, last year maybe, that has this practice called clearing. So she calls it Clear the Fear. And I have read about this in another book too called, um, I'll put that in the show notes. It has a naughty word in it, but um, really this idea of talking to your inner child, understanding where did a fear or a trigger come from, and how can you rethink that thought. So this could be done journaling. I do it meditating, but I will always journal after that. So that is one of the main times I use journaling, is when I'm clearing a thought, clearing a trigger, or I'm maybe brainstorming, writing out lists of things, but I don't have a daily journaling practice. The other practice that has been really, really serving me is doing silent meditation. So the clearing practice, that is a little more thinking. That's honestly, it uses some emotional power, where I feel like my meditation practice, and maybe I'll add in some restorative yoga poses, that is re-energizing me, right? That is not taking energy, that is giving me energy. It's recharging my spiritual battery. And it's just learning how to first calm the monkey mind. What are the poses you want to do, right? What are the stretches? Does your body feel in that? How do you slow down your heart rate? But then just taking 5 to 15 minutes to truly work on not thinking. For me, I focus on this feeling inside of my head. It feels like it's right behind my eyes, just getting super heavy. Sometimes I'll visualize a light in front of me, but I am truly just working on having no thoughts. And I feel so great after it. I feel like just in my power, and it just feels awesome. So those are the two that have really been working for me. Find what works for you, whether that is classes, apps, do the dang work. You got this. So a couple of spiritual detox terms to know. I'm going to fly through these. Free will, right? This is the idea that you have the freedom and the ability to think what you want, do what you want, and react how you want in life. Your spiritual ideal, or your higher self, right? This inner vision, this blueprint that is going to guide you on this journey of detoxing, of doing the hard work, right? Your spiritual ideal wants you to level up, and it is going to show you the answers, show you the way. It may take time, but if you are doing something that is not in alignment with what your higher self will be, it's going to show you. You're going to get triggered. You're going to have this knowing when you listen to it. Meditation, right, is that just practice of connecting to that spiritual battery, recharging it. Cortisol and dopamine. Okay, let's get into it. So cortisol is your primary stress hormone. This is a super trendy term. A lot of people have heard of cortisol belly or lower your cortisol. Drink this cortisol drink that's going to lower your cortisol. So it's meant to give you this short-term stress, right? But when chronically elevated or depleted, we can have problems. We can feel exhausted. Honestly, can have some really similar overlap in symptoms when we have high or low cortisol. And another thing to know is that cortisol directly shuts off oxytocin, your love hormone. So this hormone that helps you feel calm when you are meditating, when you are on a walk with a friend, when you're cuddling your partner or your pet. So we want to prioritize as much time with oxytocin as we can, but also start to understand some of the things that can help us to manage cortisol better. Dopamine is your motivation, drive, pleasure neurotransmitter. So just like um, just like insulin resistance, where our body stops responding as well to insulin because we have too much produced over time from too much carbs, too much stress, we can see this dopamine resistance. So our body and stops our let's back up a second. Our neurotransmitter receptors start to desensitize from the dopamine. So we need more and more and more. Let's come back to that. So let's take a moment to think about all of the connections with gut hormone stress. Okay. How does gut health influence your stress response? So, first of all, a lot of your dopamine and your serotonin are actually produced in the gut. Also, the gut helps to regulate the vagus nerve, which influences cortisol. Okay. If we have a poor regulation of the vagus nerve, we see more risk of IBS, of anxiety, of bloating, indigestion. So by meditating, we are going to activate that vagus nerve and strengthen that connection to improve digestion, which to me also just on the day-to-day, if you're not digesting your food well, you're going to have more stress come up because you feel crappy. So it's all these bi-directional relationships that we see. Inflammation too is really, really influenced by our gut, by leaky gut, right? If we are not nourishing our gut well, we're going to see more food sensitivities come up. Um, Estrogen and progesterone, two of our main sex hormones, are also going to influence things like our dopamine receptors, our cortisol levels. So cortisol and progesterone, we're going to talk a little bit about that connection. If we have low progesterone, we're going to see more anxiety. So again, a vicious cycle that's going to produce more problems with probably eating well, moving well, supporting our gut health if we feel anxious. And then blood sugar. Blood sugar, we know, also influences things like our insulin resistance. And when we have more insulin resistance, we feel more tired. It's just harder to do those things that support our gut health. So again, all of it is connected. We want to learn and understand all of the different areas. So, what are some overall rebalancing tools to hit all the areas I just mentioned? Blood sugar, sex hormones, gut health, cortisol, dopamine. First of all, morning sunlight. This is such a powerful one. Can really help to regulate our circadian rhythm, help to produce some oxytocin in the morning. That's really one thing I think about. When I'm out in the sun in the morning on a walk, I just feel so, so good. It's a way that I can really connect with my body, my thoughts. Another one is having a protein-rich breakfast, right? I definitely don't think that this needs to be like immediately when you wake up. I actually think pushing it back a little bit can be helpful, but figuring out what is your routine, right? I don't love the general, like, you have to eat 1 hour after you wake up, because for some people that just doesn't work, but we do need to get protein in early in the day. I would say, right? Your breakfast or your lunch need to be pretty high in protein. And what the worst thing we can do is start our day with too much sugar and crappy food. So figure out those routines, what feels good. If you're really confused, try something like a continuous glucose monitor, right? See how your blood sugar is responding to your breakfast. Walking after your meals also. I feel like people have heard this one, but we still have to say it. It's so great for digestion, for lowering the cortisol, getting in those steps. Boundaries, 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 right? How do we make space to actually have that time for oxytocin to shut off the cortisol? Do the bedtime routine, right? Spend the time with your girlfriends. All of these things make a difference. And then cycle syncing your workouts, supporting natural progesterone. Really, that is what I think about when it comes to cycle syncing, any of those things, right? I know I mentioned hormonal birth control, right? That is definitely, if you're considering coming off of it, that is your first step to help your body be able to produce this natural progesterone, which is one of the most anti-anxiety, calming, bone health, breast health, heart health supporting hormones that we have. So unfortunately, most birth controls are shutting off your production of natural progesterone. There are some where you are still ovulating, but I still see the risk of those synthetic progestins. So first step is starting to learn what would it look like for you to come off of it, right? We're going to talk a little bit about some of the testing options to help your body respond better to that transition off. But if you're really just concerned about the fertility aspect, chat with me about fertility awareness method. Start learning that, right? That is this gold standard way to avoid pregnancy if you are not on hormonal birth control, which it's so effective and so empowering to include that. But anyways, other nutrients too that can support progesterone that I might have clients start even before coming off birth control, things like vitamin A, iodine, fiber intake, anti-inflammatory foods, so important to support that regular mood throughout our menstrual cycle too, so that we can better do those habits that help regulate the dopamine, the cortisol, right? If we are super exhausted and anxious, scrolling and eating sugar are going to be that much more tempting and going to be stimulating that quick dopamine that causes our baseline levels to go up and causes us to have that resistance. Okay, I talked about the higher self app and using those subconscious clearing methods. A few slides here if you are on the YouTube to just show you more of that connection between meditation specifically and some hormones. So there have been some great studies showing meditation can reduce cortisol, really by activating that parasympathetic nervous system, also improving sex hormones, impacting that HPA axis. DHEA, this is a hormone for resilience, libido, cognition. As we age, we see DHEA go down. So we want to see that one in a good range as we age, especially. So meditation can help with that. Melatonin and serotonin have some benefits as well. So melatonin regulates our sleep cycle, and serotonin is one of our happy, feel-good neurotransmitters. All right, so hopefully you are ready to start meditating. You're feeling excited about meditation, but all of those other things as well, right? Remembering that detox, spiritual detox specifically, it takes energy, right? It takes action. So it can be so powerful. It can even help regulate how our genes are going to be showing up. So this field of epigenetics shows us that we're given a set amount of genes, right? We're given that blueprint, but we can impact how they are expressed. So food, lifestyle, meditation, these things can change what genes are expressed and influence things like our immune system, our gut, our hormones. Okay. So talked about sensitivity, right? We also want to focus on reducing chronic overstimulation, right? Setting those boundaries, trying the strict approach where we can take something out for a couple of months, see how we feel, right? Super proud of my friends that do the 75 hard. I think that is a great format to try, but you also don't need to be so strict, right? I share with my clients a lot this spreadsheet I have my boyfriend found that is super comprehensive, but helps to kind of organize out some of your goals. So pick one of those areas that you want to do some type of detox. You want to decrease your overstimulation in one of these categories. So, okay. We talked a little bit about the dopamine sensitivity already. I think that doing a GI map test, micronutrient testing, those can also be things that can help bring it all together. If you are like, I'm doing the lifestyle things, I feel like I have good boundaries, I feel like I have a healthy relationship with work, with my friends, with alcohol, right? And I'm still not feeling my best, right? I think that is where the functional labs can be so helpful to see what's really going on. Okay, let's get into some physical detox. I need to take a moment to have a sip of my matcha and remind you that these are going to be the more masculine, energetic things, right? The straightforward science, this is bad for you, you should avoid it, right? And I know how overwhelming all of that can be, but I also know how empowering it can be. So take what serves you, leave what doesn't. Find a couple of things you can truly commit to. And I have on here, before you focus on the green detox juices, right? Focus on the foundations. So detox is very energetically draining. So protein, hydration, key aspects, fiber, right? You've heard these things, but they are really, really important. So make sure you've got those really nailed down before you get into focusing a lot of energy on some of this more nuanced stuff. Like, what can you be swapping out? So quick, gonna run through a few of my favorite swaps that I have made to support detox. First one being good quality water filter. I rave about the AquaTrue filter to all of my clients. This is one that I have done quite a bit of research. Feel like it's a really, really great one. I know Huberman Lab has a few others that are pretty well known too, on one of his podcasts on water quality. But thinking about water, right? We drink this every day. So we want to make sure we are getting out toxins, pesticides, fluoride from our water. The next one is just swapping out as much plastic as I can for glass. So I'm still working on remembering to bring my to-go cup when I go out for a coffee, or just drinking the coffee in the coffee shop. But I think that mainly when I'm at home, really those to-go containers or those microwavable meal prep containers, that's a key time that I'm going to use. Definitely glass. Also, when you're microwaving any like frozen vegetables, pour them out of the plastic into glass. Okay, next one, and I did already mention this, but is swapping synthetic hormones for bioidentical hormones when you can, transitioning yourself off of the hormonal birth controls, figuring out how can you support those hormones naturally. So lots more that we can go into with this, but we'll just leave that one there. Conventional produce. So I do not buy 100% organic, but I am really being more aware of what is called the Clean 15. There are 15 different types of produce that are, and actually what I should have put on here is the Dirty Dozen. So the Dirty Dozen are the 12 that you really want to prioritize getting organically. The Clean 15 are 15 types of fruits and veggies that we have found less pesticide residue on. So you could buy those ones, save a little bit and go conventional. Gluten, this is another one I had mentioned previously that I think can be a concern for really anyone's gut health, but especially those with autoimmunity, with skin inflammation, just trialing going gluten-free. Or choosing those higher quality sources like Ezekiel bread, organic sourdoughs, can tend to be processed a lot better. And then my coffee. So I do not think coffee is bad by any means. There's actually some great research on coffee supporting non-fatty alcoholic liver disease, right? Diabetes risk. But I do think that the brand can make a difference. So I love Purity brand of coffee. They have lower amounts of mold, mycotoxins, and less caffeine. So that's one I've been using at home. And then, of course, Whole Foods, right? Getting into the Unfiltered Nourishment app, checking out some of the different recipes. How can we pack in more omega-3s, better quality oils, more greens, things like that, that can just increase your nutrient diversity to support hormones. So when I'm thinking about hormones and detox, one of the main topics that comes to mind is estrogen dominance. Okay, so estrogen dominance is this term we've coined for a variety of different hormonal issues. So some women have too much estrogen or not enough progesterone in relation to their estrogen. They're not detoxing their estrogen well. And then adding in more estrogen from birth control, from environmental pesticides that mimic estrogen, can just add to this estrogen load. So we're seeing this pop up as a lot of different symptoms: period pain, weight gain, irregular cycles, fibroids, anxiety, mood swings, migraines, so many different things, right? So as I said at the beginning, we're thinking about more questions of what could be going on, right? So with any of my women, I do want to rule in and out where are their hormone levels at. It might not be the first thing I start with though, but I want them to be aware of if they do have too much estrogen or they're not properly detoxing it. So we want to start to understand what some of those potential root causes are first. So food sensitivities, iodine are a couple that I think of, specifically histamine intolerance. So some women do have these bad reactions to foods high in histamine, or their body's just not clearing histamine well. So that's something I'll explore. Um, Under eating, that's another one that can really contribute to this low progesterone state in specifically athletes. I see this more common. I know for me, I think that was a contributor is that I wasn't eating enough good healthy fats and proteins to meet my calorie needs, so my body was not able to produce enough progesterone. Imbalances in gut microbiome too can influence how we are processing the estrogen. So supporting gut health is only going to help. Okay, so liver detox pathways, right? This visual, if you're on the YouTube, is going to help you understand that just there are so many different factors that go into how our liver is functioning, so many different nutrients. So a great place to start is just making sure you have a comprehensive diet and supplement plan, or pursuing some testing to see more about your specific needs. So some supplements that I love to help you have that comprehensive plan, a good quality probiotic. My favorite brand recently has been Megaspore probiotic from Microbiome Labs. And I know that the other night somebody had asked me, how do you know where you can get good supplements? And I use what's called FullScript, which is a dispensary online that health practitioners can make lists and can prescribe supplements for. But I just love that you're going to know that the supplement is coming straight from the distributor, straight from the brand. So with like Amazon and mainly Amazon, I think of where people get a lot of supplements. You don't know where that's coming from necessarily. Like somebody had to buy that supplement from the company and then keep it and then resell it. So you just don't have as much knowledge of how long it's been on their shelf for. Has it been properly stored in the right temperatures? So yeah, full script is great. Also going straight from the website of the company would be a safe option. I do think some health food stores, Whole Foods, local health food stores are going to tend to carry better quality brands also. My favorite multivitamins recently have been the brands Needed or Pure encapsulations to give a good variety of vitamins and minerals that will support phase 1 and phase 2 liver detox. Milk thistle is also wonderful for liver and kidney support, supporting glutathione production. Great one to do if you are someone who drinks alcohol regularly. Curcumin, a very anti-inflammatory compound, also considered turmeric, is going to support phase 1, phase 2, help chelate heavy metals. This is a great one if you struggle with more inflammatory type symptoms like acne, bloating. N-acetylcysteine, another one that's going to support glutathione, one of our biggest, most powerful antioxidants in the body. This is a great one if you do struggle with estrogen dominance or PMS. Also to consider zeolite products. I really like the brand Zeo Charge is going to help to bind up heavy metals and toxins. And this specific one I like because it does not leave it leaves vitamins and minerals, doesn't bind those up quite as much. That's something to watch out for with some brands of binders. And then iodine, right? You can start with a really low dose of iodine drops, but I also do iodine testing in a lot of my clients. This is really great for supporting gut health. It's very antibacterial, antimicrobial, can help reduce gut dysbiosis and bacterial issues, and also can help with progesterone production. So when it comes to the estrogen topic, right? What are the testing options out there? I would say, right, make sure first that you are supporting lifestyle. That is really key. I know for me, I tested my hormones, did a Dutch test like 5 years ago when I was in the midst of my symptoms. And while it was helpful and I did learn that I had a little bit lower progesterone, higher estrogen, I still really had to work on so many of these lifestyle factors that were leading to that problem. So make sure you have worked on those things first. And then I would say, yes, pursuing a Dutch test, a GI map together can be really, really great to see a full picture. Looking at some of my foundations panels or genetics panels can also give more insight into methylation pathways, detox needs, and then serum hormone testing too can be used in some cases to help monitor if we are adding in hormones. Are these getting to be too high? But the serum hormones is more of a snapshot in time, whereas our Dutch test is going to give us more information about how the hormones are being metabolized. So hormone testing is super personalized. There's not one agreed upon way to go about it. So just know that if you do talk to your doctor and they are not a fan of the Dutch test, right? That's okay. There's different perspectives, and that's important in our world to have different perspectives, but still testing and not just guessing when it comes to taking more supplements. The ones that I shared on that slide previously, I think are safe to add in, but always still talk to your dietitian, talk to your doctor about possible interactions, about dosing, about long-term use of supplements. And then finally, I want to touch on cortisol testing as well. This is another one that I'll hear a lot of confusion and see people get one serum cortisol test done with their doctor. They'll ask for it. That is not really the full picture to me. We need to be testing what's called a diurnal cortisol rhythm, your cortisol levels throughout the day to see, are you having this rise and fall in cortisol? So we want to see it rise in the mid-afternoon, go down in the evening. And what can happen over time is we see that this is showing the stages of adrenal burnout, where we see that overall your cortisol rhythm in stage one, it's too high. It's in the upper end, or it's even above the normal range. And then eventually, same with your pregnenolone, your DHEA, we can look at those too. They start to drop off, right? Your body stops being able to adapt to more and more cortisol output. And we see stage two, things are getting maybe back close to the normal range, but they're starting to tank down. So again, this is where having these trends over time is ideal. Being able to understand what are your baseline levels, how does this correlate with your symptoms and your lifestyle, because there are more intricate protocols we can do if you are in these stages of burnout. But I think awareness is the first key, so you can start to understand how to just support your body and your HPA axis. So I am super, super excited to start offering and continue offering functional labs to clients. So my foundations panel that is going to give you an initial oversight of where do you want to focus, right? What are some metabolic inflammation, methylation patterns, gluten insights? How am I detoxing? What are some of the places I really want to start with supplements? And then I would say jump to those more in-depth Dutch panels, GI map, micronutrient panels. So some of my clients, they want to start with everything at once, and that's an option too, but I also like to split them up. So detox, right? It's not about deprivation, but it's about supporting the pathways, understanding your risks, and making sure we have those foundations, protein, hydration, and fiber in place. Detoxing is so necessary for our growth, both spiritual detox and physical detox. We can really dive into so much hormonally, gut health, lifestyle, environmental, emotional, and mental when it comes to detox. So I'm so excited to be offering a new program. I just want to take a moment to share about my Embodied Detox program, which is a part of my Flourish membership, where my clients who they're doing the dang things and they're working on their lifestyle and they're still wanting to dive deeper into more information. They know that their symptoms are not normal and they want to understand what is going on with some data. They can order my foundations panel along with a supportive group of community. We're going to be doing deep dives on these different detox topics to understand your labs. And you also get access to the membership benefits. So you'll get one-on-one calls and protocols from me, access to all of my different member events and member full script discounts. So you can get started with the Embodied Detox for $149 a month. I would love to do a call with you to chat more about the program, about my other coaching options. And if you are just getting started, get into the Unfiltered Nourishment app to start learning more about the meals you can be be prepping the workout programs that I have in there at all different levels, all different time availability to start prioritizing yourself. So thank you guys for joining tonight. Would love to chat more. So I'm going to put my email in the show notes. Reach out there, reach out on the gram. Would love to chat more.